I can't say anything bad about this New York Yankee team. There's really nothing I could say that could obviously hurt what every Yankee fan has done to Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone in the offseason. How many people, how many Yankee fans wanted Brian Cashman's head because they couldn't land Max Scherzer? And we'll get into Max Scherzer in just a few moments. How many people said that Aaron Boone is the worst manager in Yankee baseball history? If you want to look at stats right now, if Aaron Boone wins another 100 games this year, he will be the first manager in baseball history in his first 5 years to have not one, not two, but 3 100-win seasons. So what do I say about that? What do Yankee fans have to say about that? Aaron Boone and the New York Yankees did not spend all that money in the offseason. They made trades after the lockout where they didn't have to open up their pockets and bring in free agents. They didn't go after a big-time pitcher. They kept to the rotation that they had last year, which was a little bit more healthier this year. Bringing back a healthy Luis Severino. Nestor Cortez, who has really shown everybody what a player could develop into at the age of 27. Tejon, who has really changed ever since the second half of the season last year and has become a dominant force for the New York Yankees as a 5th starter in this rotation. And Jordan Montgomery, ever since he came back from his ACL injury, has gotten better and better and better. And now you look at the Yankees right now, Speedy. They have the best rotation in baseball right now. They have the best bullpen in baseball right now. They're the 3rd best defensive team in baseball. And they lead the league in home runs in all of baseball. So what does that say about Brian Cashman, Speedy? What does that say about Aaron Boone, Speedy?
Aaron Boone has done the best managerial job getting depth, getting new players to get going, and not having these guys rely on one player a lot of the time. I've always said Aaron Boone has been a better manager when the adversity is being faced. 2019 season with all those injuries. All these players coming through for them. He found the right lineups.
By the way, baseball absolutely robbed him for that manager of the year. Well, he should have been manager of the year.
Not only that, the 4th manager of the year won the manager of the year in Rocco Baldelli. There were 2 other even more deserving guys too. And the 4th guy somehow won it, but that's besides the point. But Aaron Boone this year has done a great job managing so many different lineups, playing the bench players the best they could do. Between the infield, we talk about the depth of Kiner Falefa, Gleyber Torres, LeMahieu, managing that right, the catchers, managing that very well, and most of all, the pitching. The Yankees always had the big-name bullpen in the past, where they had the 7th guy, Juggernaut, 8th guy, Britton, Juggernaut, 9th guy, Chapman, Juggernaut. Now it's different. Aroldis Chapman is still closing. He's done a nice job this year. Had his first really bad outing this week, but still has had a great year overall. But now it's these new names. Michael King, Clay Holmes, Miguel Castro, ex-Met. These young pitchers that have done well throughout this bullpen that aren't these big-name guys, aren't getting paid a lot of money. A lot of them are failed starters. A lot of them have failed with other teams. Like you're saying with Nestor Cortez. He's had 2 different stints with the Yankees, now finally getting going at age 27. He's allowed only 6 earned runs this entire season, and only allowed 3 home runs, 49 strikeouts. That's insane. Their worst ERA is Luis Severino at 3.63 in their starting rotation. Tejon 3.28, Montgomery 3.35. That is insane. Garrett Cole's back to his usual self. That's a lot to do with Aaron Boone and a lot to do with Brian Cashman in the faith that they had in not going after extra veteran guys and trying to hinder themselves with bad contracts like they did in the past.
Well, I will say this. What we have seen so far from the New York Yankees is a team that is not one player deep. This is a team that has played well on all cylinders. It's not all about the offense. It's not all about the power anymore. It's not all about Garrett Cole. This team has a rotation. This team has a bullpen. And what Brian Cashman has done in the offseason, bringing up these players like King and Schmidt, it's really changed the bullpen from one of the worst bullpens in baseball last year to now the best bullpen in baseball. So it's a miraculous move by a GM that doesn't get the respect from Yankee fans that he should. And to me, he is going to be GM of the year if the Yankees continue doing what they're doing. And Brian Cashman, who everybody wanted out of there, could sit here on his throne, and I've said this over and over and over again. If Brian Cashman was ever fired by the New York Yankees, there would be 31 teams lining up, ready to sign him within 5 minutes. So for anybody, any Yankee fan that is disgusted with arguably the best GM in baseball, one of the best GMs in professional sports, well, then you don't know baseball and you should just shut your mouths, because this man deserves all the damn respect for what he has done the last 25 years for this New York Yankee organization. This was the one and last gift George Steinbrenner has given the New York Yankees as an organization. So thank you to George Steinbrenner to give us a GM that actually knows what he is doing.
What defines a GM is not necessarily star moves. What defines them is bargains, and defines them as trades that you fleece other teams in. And the Yankees have done a collection of that with a lot of these players. Not all these players are homegrown. Some of them are, but some of them are top prospects of other teams that didn't get it going. Tyone was the second overall pick of the draft with the Pirates, was a very good young pitcher, then had some trouble with Tommy John surgery, had to step away from the game because he had cancer, which he's a fighter for that as well. And a lot of these other pitchers too. Miguel Castro was just with the Mets. Wandy Peralta was a good pitcher for Houston, Detroit. Now finding a role in this Yankees bullpen, 1.38 ERA. Same thing I had to think with the hitters. Aaron Hicks, how good of a prospect was he with the Twins? Couldn't get it going.
How about Nestor Cortez? Look at him right now. He's up for a Cy Young this year. I mean, who would have thought that by Nestor Cortez? Last year, in the second half of the season, he was unbelievable. And now, this full season so far, he's 2-1, and his ERA is 1.35, and his WHIP is under 1. Right now, those are Jacob deGrom-esque type of numbers, right? And that's Cy Young numbers for a guy like Nestor Cortez, and a guy that might really have changed who he is as a pitcher. Yeah. So the Yankees might have found something nobody saw when Baltimore drafted him 7-8 years ago.
To put it in perspective, Jacob deGrom's historically good first half last year was 1.08 ERA. Nestor Cortez is only 27/100ths of a point ERA behind that. So
it's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. And congratulations to the New York Yankees. Keep playing the way they're doing. They're going to be very untouchable in this American League, which is still a very good American League. Minnesota, they've played very well. No thanks to Gary Sanchez. And then there's Houston. And I have to give them a lot of credit. Dusty Baker, a lot of credit. Because this Houston Astros team that's lost so many pieces over the last couple of years is still playing at the top of their game. Maybe because of their farm system. But really, this lineup is hitting on all different cylinders. It's unbelievable what this Houston Astros team has done so far in the American League. As far as the New York Mets, I know there's not a lot of bad things to say about the Mets. I mean, they're 26-14. They're getting game-winning hits by the polar bear. Lindor is hitting. Everybody's hitting in this lineup. What would worry the New York Mets fan moving forward is their starting rotation. Who would have thought the dominant force of what this team was supposed to be before the season started is now the weakest part of this team? You talk about, obviously, Jacob deGrom, who might not be back until mid-June, end of June. 2 days ago, 48 hours ago, there was a story coming out that Max Scherzer could be out for 6 to 8 weeks for a lat sprain. Now, we've seen this lat sprain before. If you guys remember, for the last 2 years, Noah Syndergaard has had this problem.
3 times.
What does that tell you about Max Scherzer, who has never had a significant injury like this ever in his career? And now he goes to the New York Mets, and he could be out 6 to 8 weeks. So you look at this rotation now. What do you see? Bassett, McGill.
He's hurt too.
He doesn't have an injury like this.
No.
But you have Bassett, McGill, Carrasco. Who else? Walker.
Yeah, if he actually pitches.
This rotation came from one of the best or the best rotation in baseball with the leadoffs of Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer to now maybe a subpar rotation at best in the National League. If you're a Met fan right now, you better hope that this lineup stays as hot as it's been since the starting of the season. Because if it doesn't, this team could go down as quick as they have over the last couple of years in the month of June.
There are 2 things that are going to be tested here. One of which the Mets have never seen to do, no matter if their pitchers are young, whether their pitchers are older, whatever, is if they manage the injury properly. Because Noah Syndergaard, like you brought up, had 3 different lat problems that they always seem to rush him back from. And then when finally the last one went, it seemed like he didn't pitch for a year in 2019 after he injured that during the shortened season. Now he's gone. Now he's with the Angels. They did it with Steven Matz, too. All the big injuries that he had. Zach Wheeler. They pitched well in certain spurts for the Mets, but never were able to put it together. Now you have a guy who's old, 38 years old, in Max Scherzer. And you're going to have to manage that a lot differently. Yes, he's had great durability throughout his career, but he's still 38 years old. So you cannot have this be a big problem where he's out in meaningful games in August and September because you rushed him back after 6 weeks. You rushed him back after 4 weeks, whatever it may be. Jacob deGrom, same kind of thing. He hasn't pitched since the end of the first half of last year. So there's got to be some kind of issue there that you're going to have to not rush him back. They're right now in okay shape, but now that McGill's hurt too, they're going to have to manage it with this kind of average starting rotation. Now, if McGill comes back strong and pitches like he did in the first month of the season, that's going to change a lot. Bass has pitched well. Carrasco's pitched well, but he's going to hit a bit of a slump. The other thing that's going to be tested is length, because Carrasco's really been the only length guy so far for them this season, and even he's not normally known as that. So how much can you expect that to last? So Buck Showalter's going to have to do a good job at managing that and not overworking particular bullpen arms as well, because they might need to go to openers. They might need to go to some veteran guys that you wouldn't expect.
Mm-hmm. If you're a Met fan right now, I wouldn't be as excited as you should be. But again, it's still very, very early, and I understand where the Mets are right now with this rotation. You would sit back and wonder if this rotation is going to be able to hold up throughout the season. I believe they will. I believe they'll get back to full strength, and when they do, I think they're going to be pretty dominant.
Right. You got to remember, it's not terrible. It's just average, but it's serviceable. They just have too many guys that are just so inconsistent. You got to wake up, especially you, Taijuan Walker. We're looking at you.